We've got there. It's episode 8, the final episode of this project. There are 2 jobs that we need to do in this episode. One is we're going to look at our final effect, which is going to be reverb. And then we're just going to do a final balance, make sure everything is nice and even and we're happy with the levels of everything, and check that we haven't got any nasty distortion or clipping or anything. And that'll be it. We will be done. So let's talk about reverb. Now, reverb can cause a lot of confusion, and it can also ruin a mix instantly. Okay, we need to be careful with reverb. We need to use it sparingly. If we just chuck it on everything, it can sound pretty dreadful. It can make a nice mix sound rubbish. So, what is reverb? Well, it's short for reverberation, and lots of people think, oh, reverb, that just makes things sound echoey, or it's just echo. Reverb, echo, same thing. And actually, that's not true. Reverb and echo are related because echo is a type of reverb, but not all reverb is echo. So if you're in an enormous space, say you're in a cave, right, and you shout, and you actually hear the words coming back to you, you hear your words repeated to you, so you say echo, 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 and it comes back to you. That is true echo, right? That is sound which has taken so long to return to you and your ears that you actually hear the sound again reflected back to you. That is very unusual. That is not actually reverb in itself. Well, it is, because echo is a type of reverb. But to get a definition of reverb, we need to know that all enclosed spaces, every single enclosed space, has reverb. It's caused by reflections of sound coming back to you, and different size spaces and spaces made of different materials will have different reverbs. So, if you're in a recording studio, it may well have been acoustically treated. It might have panels on it, like our drum room does, for example, to try and absorb some of the sound. If you're in a relatively small room, it will have a very short reverb. It will sound quite dry. If you're in a church or a cathedral, then walls and pillars and stones and things are going to be much further away from you, and it will have a much longer reverb. You might describe that as a wet reverb. So dry reverb, not very much reverb at all. Wet reverb, quite a lot of reverb. And I'm going to show you 2 ways of adding reverb. One is extraordinarily simple, and that's sort of the basic version that I'm going to do. And I'm also going to show you how to do it using plugins, which there's nothing complicated about plugins. That's how we've done our other 2 effects. So let me get straight into it. I have already listened to our mix, and I have decided that our piano part and our accompaniment synth part, our drippy part, needs to have a little bit more reverb. It sounds a bit dry, right? The notes are quite separated, and they currently sound like this. Okay, which doesn't really match with the original either. The original uses quite a lot of reverb on the entire song, but particularly on that piano intro. So if you click into either of our grand piano tracks, remember we've got 2 because of the stereo manipulation that we did, you will see down here that there is a set of controls for this MIDI instrument. And one of them, really helpfully, is called reverb, right? Now, interestingly, if you just adjust reverb while it's playing, it doesn't do anything. Oh no, sorry, it does. I'm mistaken. I'm thinking that I'd have to press reset again or play again in order for it to work. But actually, that was turning up the reverb. It was only turning up the reverb on one of the tracks, but it was making a difference. Okay, you can hear already that it sounds like it's in a bigger space, and as a result, everything is a little bit more joined up. Technical term for that is legato. Let's punch it all the way towards 70%, which is the top setting we can use. But the other track, the other stereo paired track, doesn't have any reverb on it at all, so let's shunt that one up to full whack as well. Okay, now like I said, you have to be careful with reverb. Now to my mind, that sounds quite muddy. That's too much reverb. Listen again. Yep, not a fan of that. particularly when the synth comes in, because that's got its own reverb already. Okay, so I'm just going to knock it back. Let's try 50%. Okay, that's a number which seems to appeal to me. That was the first one. And you can double click on the figure and type in the reverb value that you want. So let's have a listen to that. That's better. It's not muddy, but it's a little bit more joined up. You know what? I think I'm actually going to take some of the reverb out. Yeah, just turn the reverb down very slightly on the voice-like pad. Interestingly, it's not marked as reverb here, it's marked as space. It's just a different way of expressing the same thing, changing the space that it was recorded in. And I think I prefer that. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. So that's the first way of adding reverb. And I could use that exact method with the other track that I want to add some reverb to, or rather increase the amount of reverb on, because there's quite a lot of it on already, which is Drippy Cave. And I'll do that now, in fact. So I've decided to go for 100% reverb on both of these, because I want that guitar part to be quite airy, have plenty of space. Let's listen to that. Now, it was already, I think it was on the 60s, 60% when I turned it up, but I wanted this to be really quite reverby, and if you take it in context, it actually works quite well. I like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's plenty in the way of reverb. So I'm going to screenshot at this point. But I am going to show you another method, just in case you want to add reverb to different tracks, or you want to have a little bit more control over the reverb that you are adding. I'm sort of hesitant to do this because if I was doing a real mix, I would be using something called bussing for the reverb, and you're not required to know about bussing at level 2. You are at level 3. So I don't want to give you too much extra unnecessary information, but I do want to show you part of that process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to audio effects up here. I'm going to come back to the right up in a second. And you will notice that one of the sections here is reverb and resonance. Now, if you pull it down, you've got reverb, you've got hall, room, and special. So these are all different types of reverb setting that you can use. So, for example, there's a church, which I've already talked about. There is concert hall. There are medium hall. There are various different ones in here. Special. There's some outside ones. We've got a basement. There's an oil barrel, for example. Stadium is another one. So there's a few different ones to consider. I generally tend to use the halls because that's where music tends to happen. But if you want to add reverb to a track, all you have to do is choose one of these presets and drag it across. So if I wanted to add reverb to, I don't know, more reverb to the voice, for example, I'll just drag it over here, and then I get reverb controls here. What does that sound like? Oh, interestingly, that's killed all the signal. We've lost a whole load of volume there. Okay, but then you could manipulate the audio in the same way that we did with the compressor by moving things around, and that is, I'm showing it to you, like I said, because that's how I would do this if I were doing a full mix. But you encounter a problem when you're not bussing, particularly in Ableton, with this method. Because if you've got a pair of stereo tracks, like here, for example, the grand piano that we've already put some reverb on using the first method I showed you, then you run into a real problem, which is that the reverbs on the true tracks conflict with each other. So, for example, if I put medium hall on both of these, on one it sounds quite nice, like this. But if I put medium hall on the second one as well, Can you hear the reverb conflicting with itself? So I would use another step where I put in a bus and I'd run both tracks through one set of reverb. But I don't need to show you that, and you don't need to cover that, so I'm not going to do that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take out what I've just put in, and I'm going to write it up. So keep it simple is generally a good motto. So use the first method that I showed you, but if you want to experiment with some extra reverb and really go for some extra independent credit, then by all means do. But this basic method has given us a mix that sounds like this. I don't know, I want more. I don't want all the way to the top. Let's try 60. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's write that up before we do anything else. Let's bring this down. Where's that screenshot? What are we up to? Screenshot 18. It's going to be a decent length for a project. Take this out. Put this in. Screenshot 18. This is me adding reverb to the piano and drippy synth tracks. Reverb is short for reverberation, and all enclosed spaces have reverberation. It's caused by sound reflecting off surfaces, and Ableton is able to create artificial reverb so that sounds can sound like they were recorded in places other than they were. There's an explanation of what reverb is. In order to add reverb, I used the main track controls. For example, on the piano, I turned the existing reverb setting from 8% up to 60%. This has the effect of making the song sound more like the original, and it creates a sense of space around the piano track, as if it were recorded in a much larger space. The drippy synth track already had a lot of reverb on it, but I wanted even more, so I turned this up to 100%. On the voice track, which is also a synth, I thought there was too much reverb, so I actually turned this down slightly. There we go, nice explanation of reverb. And we're into the final thing that we need to do, which is to balance up our track and make sure that everything is nice and clean in terms of distortion and levels and that kind of thing. So let's have a listen. So we're looking to compare the levels of different things and say what's the right volume, what's too loud, do we need to adjust anything? Straight away, okay, I want a little bit more from the voice. So I've grabbed over here on the main fader for that track, the blue bar, and I've just pulled it up to 4, which is plus 4 decibels. So I've made it 4 decibels louder. Now I think in an earlier video I turned that disto down, but actually it's still too loud. What happened to our EQ? balance in terms of overall. So I've got the pianos both at 0. I've increased the voice up to +6 decibels. I've reduced the 2 disto lead tracks down to -9. And I've taken the toms down to -5. I'm happy with the overall balance. But if you listen to this, particularly the end of the track, we've got some nasty distortion. And that is all down to what's going on here. See, these faders are well and truly into the reds. That means that we're over 0 decibels, and as a result, it's clipping quite nastily. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it down. Now you might say, I don't want my track that quiet. Well, actually, yeah, you do. Turn it down until we go into the greens. There we go. So I've had to take it down quite a lot. Go down to 20. I like round numbers. And what you would actually do in reality is you would then turn your master volume up. But what we want is we want to bounce so everything is under 0 decibels. And then we won't have any problem with anything being cut off or distorted. So that's made it quieter in your headphones. You can always turn your headphones up, of course. But that is where we want to be now with it. And that is it. That is the project finished. We have inputted in lots of different ways. We have done some stereo fields. We have added 3 different effects. We have made sure that we are nice and mastered. Sorry, not mastered. We are nice and balanced. And it's really sounding rather good. So hopefully with the aid of these videos, you'll be able to get your track to the same point with this, and we'll be looking at a really, really good set of outcomes. Let's just write up about the master fader, which is going to be screenshot 19. Shame not 20. Like I said, I like round numbers. I can't talk today. I can't type. I can't talk. Actually, we can use the same screenshot because we haven't. Oh no, we have changed things. We have changed things. Might be better to take a screenshot of the mixer, perhaps. Yeah, it's really easy to see on GarageBand. It's not so easy to see where the levels are in here. So I might have to do 2 screenshots for this. Yeah, so I've gone maximum screen. Going to do a top and the bottom of the mix. So actually, it will be 20. That makes me happy. So the 2 most recent ones that I've taken, gosh, where are they? What's happened? We've got things coming out of order now. Yeah, that one. And that one, I think it's those 2. One there. And one here. Is that right? Top of the mix and bottom of the mix? Yes, that's right. So screenshot 19 and 20. After adding the final effect, I then did a final balance to make sure that I was happy with how the tracks sounded sounded relative to each other. For example, I turned up the voice track by 6 dB, I think it was in the end, and turned down the toms by -5 dB because they were much too loud. I also reduced the master fader so that everything was sitting under 0 dB and so not red on the main level meter. This is good practice and prevents distortion and clipping. Just put a note in here. The 2 screenshots show the top of the mix and the bottom. There we go. We're done. So we have a project file. We have a write-up with loads and loads and loads of nice screenshots, giving a full overview of everything that you've done to create your faded project. And if you got to this point, well done. There's a lot of work gone into it. And hopefully your project is sounding really, really nice. You have, of course, got one more assignment to do, which is to create the user manual for Ableton. But now that you've used Ableton, you've used quite a lot of the features of Ableton, producing that guide should be really quite straightforward. So well done, and I'll see you next time.